you experienced England as a player yourself, in the 2010 World Cup, South Africa. What was that experience for you, to be around some of them players, and, what was the experience like, Stephen, with, the coaching, and, you always had this kind of club first country issue going off and so on. What's the whole experience for you like around the international setup?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's one of them moments where you're deemed as one of the best 23 players in the country to represent your country at a World Cup, which is a dream that you grow up hoping to achieve. And just to be part of it was massive, not only for me, but again for the coaching staff at the academy, all the managers, the coaches I'd worked under for many years, not only at Liverpool, but even my local football teams, my school team, everything about it, because everyone's contributed in some way, whether every little bit of information's gone in or not. Something will have resonated with you that you thought, yeah, I like that, I appreciate that, and I get that. So there's so many coaches over the years that will have been probably as proud as I was that I'd made that squad. The squad I went into was so rich with talented players. I mean, you're talking some of the best players in world football at the time. You're looking at Rooney, Gerrard, and John Terry, Rio Ferdinand. One of the biggest problems that we had going into the tournament, or as we got to South Africa, was the injury to Rio Ferdinand, because it changed the dynamic of everything, the way that we wanted to play. Rio was always the player that stepped out of defence with the ball and started attacks off. And Fabio Capello never really settled on a centre-back after that. Jamie Carragher played the first game. Matthew Upson played as well. And he never really settled on anyone. I think Ledley King played as well, but then picked up an injury. So for John Terry, it was probably frustrating not to know who his partner was going to be all the way through that. The coaching side of it was, I was excited because it was Fabio Capello, multiple winner of leagues in Spain, in Italy, a legend of the game, understood it inside out. And for me, it was one of them where you go away and you think, this is the opportunity of a lifetime to work with one of the best coaches in world football and understand what it takes to get things out of players and what it takes to be a better player by listening to what he has to say. From my personal point of view, from playing, I knew it'd be very difficult to get a game because I had the best left back in world football ahead of me in Ashley Cole. And again, for me, it was someone to learn from every single day in training. How does he go about things? How does he get better? Ash was naturally one of the fittest players and naturally gifted players that I'd ever seen. But God, he worked hard off the pitch as well in the gym and things like that. So he opened my eyes as well to try and be a better player and understand that. I think I understood my role within the camp as well. I understood that I wasn't going to play and that I was there to help the other players prepare for games. I think that's something that was important to understand straight away, was that you can't get disheartened because you're not going to play. This was an opportunity to have a front row seat at a World Cup finals, which many people would dream of. I grew up watching sort of Italia 90, the World Cup in the USA, and I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to go. I even wanted to just go as a fan to watch it. And there I am, my first World Cup as a fan, being sat on the bench for England as well, watching it firsthand, listening to people talk in the changing rooms, listening to the players. If you think about a changing room when you go away with England, so suddenly you've got Paul Robinson, who's goalkeeper. No, not Paul. You had Steven Gerrard, who was captain for Liverpool. You had John Terry, who was captain for Chelsea. Wayne Rooney, who was probably not captain for Man United, but captain material.
Yeah.
You had so many captains within that changing room. Ledley King was captain at Tottenham. And you look at all these captains within the changing room, and everyone wants to say their part before the game, and they're all speaking and they're all giving out information. And for me, it was like mind-blowing to see how each one of them worked, because I ended up being a captain later on in my career, and I remember thinking, God, all these bits that you can take in off all these players and try and learn how they go about things. Some of them were really quiet and just sat back and let the football do the talking. Others were vocal within the changing room as well. So for me, having that first-hand experience in the changing room and on the training pitch as well, to work with these players day in, day out for probably a period of around about 6 or 7 weeks, with the training camp involved before the World Cup as well, was brilliant.
And what were your first impressions then? So when you've been called up to England and here you are, you know, the best of the best within the country, you know, you've probably already played, you know, either with or against pretty much everyone that's all in the camp, but kind of being kind of up close to them and being working with them on the training pitch. You know, what kind of stood out for you? You know, what players that you thought you knew they were good, but you didn't realise they were this good?
I remember the first time I got a call up for England, I was actually at Liverpool, and I went with Jamie Carragher in the car to London, and we were picking Steven Gerrard up, and Carragher said to me in the car on the way, he said, "You think Stevie's good in training at Liverpool?" He said, "Wait till you see him in England." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, he's got a point to prove." He said, "Because every time he turns up, there's Frank Lampard, there's Paul Scholes, there's people that think that, or fans anyway, in people's opinions, they want to know who the best is. And Stephen always wanted to prove that he was the best." And I remember the first training session, and I walked off and I said to Cara, I didn't think he could get any better. And he's just got better. And he said he does it every single time he comes away with England. So there was almost a determination within players themselves to prove that they were the best at England as well. And that was something that sort of stood out to me, was that prove why you're there, show people why you're there. Yeah, they see you week in, week out in the Premier League, but we all have a perception of certain players and what they're like. Try and prove to people what you're like. And I remember when we went away to, where was it now? We were away somewhere. I think we were actually in Doha, and we were playing Brazil. And Wayne Rooney picked a ball up, just literally walked onto the training pitch, and he went crossbar on the half volley, and he literally dropped it, half volley, crossbar, smashed it off it. I thought, not bad. I went, go on then, do it again. Half, got the ball, half volley, crossbar, just did it again. Thought, my God, I'm laughing to myself thinking, God, this guy's frightening. But he was one that I was desperate to watch, desperate to see how good he was. And with me being a defender as well, coming up against him and playing against him, you realise why they're so good. The touch, the movement, but they're always wanting to study. They're always asking questions. You often think of like the best players in the world being arrogant and not wanting to ask questions because they think they know it all. They're the players who ask the most questions. You always find that. You always find that the greatest players will ask more because they can take in more and they want to be more.